What's up, everybody? Hey, this is Justin from Kemp's Knife Life, and today I have a review on the Benchmade 940, and I have two different models here. The bottom one is the 940-1. This one you can find at just about any retailer, Benchmade retailer. The top one here is a Cabela's exclusive, very similar to the bottom one. The only differences are the steel, and then this one has some wood at the front here by the carbon fiber. So I thought I would review these together since they're so similar. Their scores do differ slightly, but other than the steel and the wood, they're exactly the same. There's a slight difference in the clip, but it's not really even something to be noted. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right into the scores. So looking at the blade steel, this Cabela's exclusive has D2 steel, and you can see here it's printed on the blade next to the Osborne logo, which Osborne is the designer of the 940. D2 is a good steel in terms of price, edge retention, and ease of sharpening. I've had some experience sharpening D2. I've used it quite a bit in the past, and it's always been very reliable. It doesn't chip easily. Just a great all-around steel, and it's cheap to produce, and it's just very reliable. So in terms of the D2 steel on the Cabela's 940, I gave that a score of 6. It's not a high-end steel, and it's not technically stainless, so you do have to keep it oiled, or it will develop some rust spots. So that's a consideration. But overall, just a very good steel, especially at the price point for the D2 models typically come in. This one is a little more expensive, but that's because of some of the handle materials. The bottom one here is in S90V. You can see here printed in the same location next to the Osborne logo. S90V is definitely a few steps above D2, has very good edge retention. It is more difficult to sharpen. It's a stainless steel, but not quite to the level of M390 or 204P made by Carpenter. I'd like to correct that because in the past couple videos I've said Crucible, which is incorrect. They make 20 CV steel. So yeah, for the S90V, I gave that a score of an 8. So a couple points above the D2. Moving on to clip. You can see here on the Cabela's exclusive, the clip is just a simple stamped Benchmade clip, has a cutout in the middle, good ramp, easy to get into the pocket, easy to withdraw from the pocket, retention's good. This one is almost the exact same design. It just says Benchmade on it. It's kind of their standard company clip. So you can see here the difference in the clips. Both, again, very good clips. The retention's very strong, but it's not too strong to where you cannot pull the knife out of the pocket. And I would definitely recommend those. The only thing I don't like is they do tend to get marked up a little bit. You can see there just from carrying. And then there's a decent portion of the knife that sticks out of your pocket when this is far away from me, so don't worry about that. There's a decent portion of the knife that sticks out of your pocket when you're carrying it. So that's a consideration with these. Benchmade does sell deep carry clips. I would suggest buying those if you're going to carry these knives a lot, especially in shorts. And jeans, it's fine, but the deep carry clips, I think they're like $10. I'd recommend those for that money. So I gave the clips a score of 7 for both knives. In terms of lock type, these are both axis locks, which Benchmade primarily sells knives with axis locks. It's a pretty standard lock for them. I think a few of their models have maybe one has a liner lock or something, but mostly axis locks. Very fidgetable, very easy to articulate. The tension from the Omega springs is not overwhelming. Just a really good lock type, and I have a lot of positive things to say about it. The design of it makes these knives a little bit more complex to disassemble and clean, but I think overall it's worth the sacrifice in terms of disassembly. As you can see here, there's these two steel pieces here that kind of hold the lock in place. And then the scales themselves, they have a little piece of steel that sort of juts out into the scale to support those. But when you take the scales off, there's really not much remaining, just sort of those steel liners. So Anyway, just a little bit of a consideration when disassembling, but nothing too hateful. So again, I don't rank lock, but just want to comment on it, kind of give you guys an idea of what they have. In terms of materials, the handle and the screw specifically, both of these I ranked as a 9. I know this one is all carbon fiber, and this one has some wood attached to the carbon fiber, or that butts up to it. I really like the wood. I think it's very clean. It is a very nice grain. It feels nice in the hand, and it just looks really classy. So I didn't want to downgrade this one any points because of the wood at the front. I think it's fair to put both of those at a 9. And then the screws, I believe these are just steel screws, so no concern there. And they're Torx, which is nice, just a standard type of screw. So in terms of hardware, I gave both an 8. Or I'm sorry, in terms of materials, I gave these a 9. Now looking at size, so I'll move these down a little bit. So I'll pull out the Mannix that I like to use for comparison. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have either handled or seen a 940, but if not, this will give you a good idea of the size. About the same size as a Mannix. The blade length is longer than the Mannix. You can see on the 940, the blade stops about here, whereas the Mannix, it's all the way up here. You're just basically missing the finger choil up here. And then also for comparison, here's the Buck 110, which, you know, is significantly larger than the 940. In terms of weight, these being carbon fiber, they're very light, maybe 2 to 3 ounces. So in the pocket, you really forget that you have a knife at all. That's been my experience. So that's a really positive thing. So yeah, that's just kind of an overview of the size. And again, I don't rank that one, but just give you guys some information on it. In terms of action, the 940-1, which let me put these back real quick. The 940-1, which is this guy, the action was good out of the box. It was a little stiff, which I expect from Benchmades. It takes some time to break them in. There was no blade play or lock rock or anything like that for that knife, which was good. I gave that action a ranking of 9 because it was smooth and I know it's going to smooth out. However, this one I gave a 10 because it was even smoother out of the box. As you can see there, this one, when you pull the axis lock back, it just essentially falls right into the handle, which you can see there. So this one I gave a 10, very, very smooth out of the box. Same characteristics in terms of lockup as this one. It was just a little bit smoother. So this one I gave a 10, and this one I gave a 9 for action. In terms of hardware, both of these have Torx screws. You can see here, the ones back here at the handle are a little bit smaller, and then the pivot might be a T8 versus a T6. And they share the same hardware. Good screws. The T6s get to be a little bit small, and I start to get concerned about stripping screws. So I knocked them a couple of points for that fact. I have them both at an 8 for hardware, and I think it's very fair. I mean, to disassemble them wouldn't be too complicated, and as long as you're careful, you're not going to strip the screws out, but it's just something to keep in mind if you were to try to disassemble these. Price for both of these. These are, in my opinion, very expensive knives for what you get. It seems to be a common theme with Benchmade. They're just, you know, every time I look at them, you know, I'm like, this is a nice knife. I feel it in the hand, feels good. You know, well made, good materials. But then I'm just, you know, I look at the price. I'm like, wow, that is an expensive knife. So this bottom one here, the last time I checked, these are about $272 for the 940-1. And this Cabela's exclusive is $249.99 according to the website. So pretty expensive pieces here. So I gave both of those a 6 in terms of price. I think if I were to price these, I would expect the Cabela's version maybe to be $210 to $220, and then this bottom 940-1, I would probably expect that one to be priced more in the range of like $230 to $240. So just a little higher than expected. In terms of quality, so fit, finish, lockup, these are both excellent knives. I mean, I really have no complaints in terms of the quality. As I mentioned in my first video, Benchmade in the past few years has been somewhat questionable at times with their quality. I mean, you'd open one up, pull it out of the box, and there'd be blade play, or there'd be blades that weren't centered, or they'd have very stiff actions. I've experienced all this in the past, but these were both very, very nice. This one was pretty smooth out of the box. Pretty much perfectly centered. You can see there. Good action. The lockup's tight. There's really no blade play. Maybe a tiny bit. Nothing up and down. Nice blue back spacers. So I like the contrast with the carbon fiber. The grind on the blade of this one's very, very even. Maybe a little bit thicker at the front there, but overall it's a good grind. Blade's nice and sharp. There was no burr left on the blade out of the box. The finish on the blade is very even. Just a very impressive piece. And the Cabela's version is pretty much the exact same. I mean, the finish is very nice. The Cabela's version has these just kind of plain barrel back spacers here, but still looks really good. The wood's nice, the grain, no cracks in that. Again, very smooth. Lockup's really tight. I think this one really doesn't have any blade play at all, side to side, or any rocking up and down. So yeah, in terms of quality, I gave both of these an 8. And I think that's very fair. Might even uprank that a little bit. Just very well built knives. Yeah, I think I'm gonna uprank those to 10s in terms of quality, because I don't have any complaints at all about the quality, which to say that about a Benchmade even now is kind of surprising considering some of the stuff I've seen from them in the past. But yeah, no complaints at all with these. So, and then lastly, in terms of competition, which I don't rank these, and I don't rank any knife in terms of competition, so nothing to be expected there. But I just like to discuss it just to give you guys some options as to other knives you can buy. It's kind of hard to compare these to anything. I know the access lock design, the patent has run out on that, so more and more companies will start producing that design. I know Hogue is a major one now that has started to produce knives with that type of lock, but they don't really make anything that directly competes with these knives. The reverse Tonto isn't common. Full carbon fiber handle, access lock. So, if you really want something with this lock, with these premium materials, including handle and steel, there's really not a lot of competition out there. I mean, you could look at a Spyderco PM2 with carbon fiber scales, but you have to get those aftermarket. And the compression lock is just a different mechanism. So anyway, this is about it as far as I know in terms of these specifics. So yeah. So then just in summation, these are great knives. I calculated the total scores for the 940-1 I had at a 57, and then this Cabela's exclusive, which is technically the 940-1601, I had it a 56, so just 1 point behind. And really it's mainly the blade steel that brought it down a little bit. But honestly, in terms of an everyday carry, I would probably recommend D2 over S90V anyway. So, but I'd highly recommend both these knives. They're well made. Prices are a little high, but nice materials, great action, very fidgetable, and Benchmade's warranty, of course, is excellent. They'll always be there, quick response. They'll always support you with any questions or anything. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave any comments. And yeah, thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't yet, please do so. And more videos to come. Have a good one, guys. See ya.